Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to another edition of Monday Musings-Danny SportsWrap. It's brought to you by NoNonsenseHealthCareNinja.com, and to say we have a mixed bag on this edition is a slight understatement. In fact, probably a gigantic understatement. And in fact, this also will be the last edition of Monday Musings-Danny SportsWrap for a while, because next week we turn Monday's podcast to football with Danny and Stan's Football Weekend. Crank that up starting next Monday. Of course, we'll cover everything in different podcasts, but our Monday podcast, brought to you by NoNonsenseHealthCareNinja.com, will focus on football, college and pro. And this time around, thankfully, with the weekend starting early on Thursday, the Kansas City Chiefs got the football off to a good start with a really pitch-perfect performance on the field as they were easy winners over the Houston Texans. That puts a little bit of a uptick on things because it was a disastrous Saturday of college football. The Sunflower State teams both went down. The Big 12 managed to go 0-3 against the Sun Belt Conference as Iowa State tossed in a loss as well. And, of course, we also have a lot of other things in the mix, including baseball and soccer. Premier League started across the pond, but more in tune with the local area. Sporting Kansas City was in action on a Sunday night. Royals have shown some improvement during the week. Things are looking up there as people stop paying attention. So, all in all, as I said, a mixed bag as we crank it up on Monday Musings, Danny SportsWrap, right here. It's time now to get some great assistance on healthcare with Chad Beisel from NoNonsenseHealthCareNinja.com. And Chad, even your business's name would indicate that you have a real aggressive way and an important way to go after some health insurance for your clients.
What I've found out in the industry is just a lot of people are really confused. They don't know what plans are good, what their plans offer, how they cover. And so I've just taken the approach of being really educated on what options are available to clients and showing them all the options that are available and making sure they understand them so they can pick and choose what options are good for them.
And one thing that's really important, of course, is access to doctors and hospitals.
Absolutely. That's become a big issue for a lot of people. Some of the plans out there are going to restrict those clients to where they can and cannot go. So if you live just outside the Kansas City metro, some of the counties outside, you may not be able to go to some of the hospitals up here in the Kansas City area. So making sure that you have a plan that's got doctors and hospitals and places you want to go is really, really important today.
Learn more by visiting NoNonsenseHealthCareNinja.com and let Chad help you. Most of us have experienced auto accidents, and it's no fun. And even less fun is trying to work on the insurance aspects afterwards and getting full value after an auto accident. I'm here with David Cowan from RecExpert.com. And David, you have an unusual and important niche for people after an auto accident.
We have a passion to teach car wreck clients what they deserve. Getting your car repaired only fixes the damage and the paint. Getting paid for your car's loss in value is called diminished value. Chances are you've never heard of this before because most people aren't looking out for you. We help people collect thousands to tens of thousands of dollars for their car's loss in value after the wreck.
And if somebody wants to come to you for that, what's the original assessment cost them?
We offer a free review of any insurance claim to see how we can help.
You can't beat that. Great expertise and assistance in getting full value after an auto accident from David Cowan. Visit RecExpert.com and learn more. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. Let's spend a minute with Dr. Brad Woodle, who, along with his wife, Dr. Christina Woodle, the owners of Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture, my home for chiropractic care. And first of all, just tell us about the wide range of services you offer.
Danny, we offer comprehensive chiropractic, acupuncture, physiotherapy, and rehab. We do a very thorough examination, x-rays on site as necessary, and we have a full rehabilitation department, so we can help out with exercises, stretches, different therapies for the complex, but also the very simple conditions we treat.
You have been deemed essential and have remained open all through this COVID-19 process. What are some of the things you've done to make sure that was the case?
From the very beginning, in March, we started to make sure that we were cleaning and sanitizing with EPA-registered sanitizing products. We also implemented masks way before the state required them. We implemented a parking lot waiting room, took out half of the chairs in our waiting room, and made sure to space out visits so we could appropriately meet, discuss, and also screen patients to make sure we were taking care of healthy people.
Find out more about Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture and how they can help you at asfca.com.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Welcome back, and as far as pure football is concerned, you couldn't have had a better night at Arrowhead Stadium for the Kansas City Chiefs and their fans. Just about perfect in every way. Little bit of slow start getting rolling for the Chiefs. The Texans really were throwing everything and a variety of different things, as Patrick Mahomes will talk about here in a few minutes, at the Kansas City Chiefs, and they were doing a lot of things that they would be very happy with. Their game plan was working. They ran the football. They were able to stop the Chiefs once, but once the Chiefs went for it on 4th and 1 from their own 34-yard line, trailing 7-0, and got it and went down and scored, you kind of had the sense that things were going to get away, and they did. If there was another key moment in the game, one that I think the Chiefs really controlled so completely that it's hard to pick out any one particular moment that was really, really key, it would be the end of the half, where the Texans missed a long field goal, gave the Chiefs the ball with 25 seconds to go, which, lo and behold, back even maybe 5 years ago, you wouldn't have thought of as a very good opportunity, but Chiefs moved down, get a field goal, so instead of the game potentially being 14-10, it was 17-7 in favor of the Chiefs, and then they get a great touchdown run early in the second half by Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That made it 24-7, and you pretty much knew it was Katie bar the door from there. Chiefs played it really fairly cozy the rest of the way. Got an interception that led to a touchdown, kind of just ran the football, ran the clock. Heck, the Texans were sticking with their game as far as running the football was concerned, so that kind of shortened the game up, and it really was a blissfully no-drama type of football game for the Kansas City Chiefs. They got great performances from their rookie class, not just Helaire, but other players as well. The defense looked good. They only gave up a couple of cheap touchdowns later on after getting the initial drive for the Texans. Actually, their second drive of the night was an impressive drive, but that was really all the defense would allow. Good pressure on the quarterback, good play out of the linebackers, good special teams play. Punter Tommy Townsend did well as well in his debut, 2 for 2 for Harrison Butker. I mean, what more could you want in this game, as the Chiefs really, really played well and did it in a different way. The Texans were hell-bent to prevent the big play, and they did. The longest passing play that Patrick Mahomes had was 19 yards on the evening, as he went 24 for 32 for 211 yards. A 123.3 quarterback rating, 3 touchdowns and no interceptions for the third straight opener for him, and a seamless performance that he'll comment on here in just a minute. Edwards-Helaire was 25 carries for 138, and if the Chiefs are going to be a team that runs the football like that, they're going to be really hell to beat. And on a night where Tyreek Hill averaged just 9.2 yards per catch on 5 catches, the Chiefs still hummed along and scored 34 points, and you kind of get the feeling that they left some stuff on the table. Heck, Townsend punted 3 times. That might be a season high for him in the end. It's one game, it's early, but the Chiefs are going to be so difficult to beat, and you get the feeling that in some regards, if they're going to lose, it's because they beat themselves. If they have a 3 or 4 turnover game, right now it seems like the only way you can beat them, when you're watching a game, when the Chiefs are on offense, it seems like it's unfair that they only have to get 10 yards on 3 snaps, and sometimes they go for it on 4th down, and then it's almost impossible to stop them. And so the Chiefs are going to be a very, very high-scoring team. Their team in 2018 was the 3rd highest-scoring team in the history of the National Football League. The only thing that I think will prevent them maybe from surpassing that, maybe becoming the highest-scoring team, is that 2018 team had a bad defense, so they had to score a lot of points a lot of times. I think we'll see a lot of games like this one where the Chiefs probably could score more points, indeed, but they don't have to because they're way ahead. They'll run the football, they'll run the clock, they'll get out of Dodge and get themselves a victory. Just a super impressive night at the office for the Chiefs. We'll get into a couple of the other topics because Patrick Mahomes will weigh in on those a little bit in a second, but from a pure football standpoint, enjoying football, playing football, couldn't have been better for the Chiefs in a very easy 34-20 win, which wasn't nearly as close as the score would indicate. And Patrick Mahomes, you've probably heard a little bit of this by now, but who doesn't want to hear of Patrick Mahomes sporting a nifty Monarchs baseball shirt as he did his press conference and talked about a wide variety of things.
A good amount, and some of those other guys on the Texans as well as talking with our team. And I thought we came out with a great plan. Obviously, to the first part of your question, I talked with Deshaun a good amount, and some of those other guys on the Texans as well as talking with our team. And I thought we came out with a great plan, obviously, for us as the Chiefs, but also with the Texans showing unity on the field. And being down there, I honestly didn't hear a lot of booing. I've seen a little bit of the videos after, and I'm just we wanted to show unity, and we wanted to show we're going to come together and keep fighting the good fight. And I hope our fans will support us like they do on the game every single day.
Let's go to Herbie next. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Patrick. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, one of the more hyped-up rookies coming into this game, and I'm curious. I know you saw a lot of what he was able to do in training camp, and I'm curious how your impression of what you saw tonight in live action.
Yeah, I mean, he's been doing it since the day he got here. I mean, he's been working hard. He's been learning from his mistakes, and he's been running the ball between tackles and catching it out of the backfield. And so I thought the offensive line did a great job of giving him holes to run through, and he hit it every single time. And so he's going to keep getting better. It's another weapon that I kind of have in this offense, and we're going to keep doing whatever we can to keep moving the ball and scoring touchdowns.
Let's go to Adam Teicher next. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Pat, I just wanted to ask you what your thoughts were on how sharp you guys were offensively given this unusual season. And also, you seems like you took a lot of short stuff. That's kind of what they were giving you. Did they play defense maybe a little differently than they had, say, last year in the playoffs?
Yeah, they did. They changed up a lot. They did a lot of stuff at the line of scrimmage, and then they kind of stayed back and kept safeties back, and they put a guy over 10 pretty much the whole entire game. And so I think that's what makes this offense so good is we can change within games. We can go throughout our game plan and find ways to score and find ways to move the ball down the field. And today it was running the football and taking the short passes. And I think whenever we get to the Chargers next week, we're playing another great defense, and we'll have to find a way to move the ball and score that week as well.
Let's go to Nate Taylor next. Go ahead, Nate.
Patrick, with everything that went on tonight with the fans obviously doing this for the first time really since the Super Bowl, just what does it say that your offensive line, like you mentioned earlier, with two new guys in those starting spots, what did it say for you that you were mostly held up without getting hit, and obviously there was holes there for Clyde to run through?
I think they did a great job. I mean, obviously without the preseason games, it's hard to get out there and kind of form that bond that offensive lines do, of how they can kind of think like each other and pass off stuff. And I think they did a great job of not only pass protecting me with all the games and that defensive line, which is a very good defensive line, but of in the run game of making their blocks and setting their angles so Clyde can go out there and make plays happen. And so I thought it was a really good sign for them to be so as one unit so early in the season with the offseason that we did have.
Go to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Pat, you really spread the ball around tonight. You mentioned some of the short stuff. You were able to hit 3 different guys with touchdowns. I was just wondering, where does that confidence that you have sort of to go in any direction at any time come from? And is it just a credit to the work that these guys have done with you in the offseason?
Yeah, it is 100%. I mean, these guys have worked their tail off. They've been here for a while now. Everybody we kind of brought back, and I've built this chemistry with. And I think we have the confidence in every single person that's in that huddle that they can make plays happen when their number is called. And so I'm going to take what's there. Obviously today they put a lot of attention on 10. And so you saw other guys like Sammy and D-Rob making plays happen. And so that's the good thing about this offense. Is a luxury for me is I have a lot of good players that can get themselves open no matter who's covering them.
Let's go to Sam Mellinger next. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Patrick, you and some other guys have talked about how you don't feel like you peaked last year, that there's still room to improve. It's had a big day, 34 points, but what happened out there that you saw that you could do better, that you're going to critique yourself on?
Yeah, I mean, there was just some missed opportunities here and there. I mean, obviously the D-Rob touchdown, he made a heck of a play, and just didn't finish it off at the end of the thing. We had another drive where I didn't pick up a blitz the right way and had to throw it hot to the flat to Darryl, and if I'd have had it picked up, we had guys open downfield. I mean, you want to score every single time you're out there. But I think the good thing about the game today is it was a good game, offense, defense, and special teams, and we were able to go out there and play off of each other. We chewed up some clock and gave the defense a rest, and they went out there and made a lot of stuff happen.
Got time for a couple more guys. We're going to go Len Jennings and then Aaron Ladd. Go ahead, Len.
Hey, Patrick, you just talked about some of the issues out on the field. Do you think that you could have benefited more with having those preseason games, how much that would have helped you? And also, what do you think about the unveiling of the championship banner?
The banner was awesome. I mean, it really was to see that, to kind of be in that stadium for that moment. I mean, you didn't know if you were going to get that coming off the Super Bowl last year with everything that happened this offseason. You ask your first question one more time, please.
Sorry, the issues you had, would you have benefited having those preseason games, you feel like?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could have for sure. I mean, just getting out there, kind of getting those kinks out. I mean, going into the game, it's kind of like you take you back to college where you're right there. Everything counts the moment you step on the field. And so I thought we did a good job of adjusting quickly. I thought we did a good job of moving the ball today. And we're going to keep progressing and keep trying to get better because we have a lot of tough games ahead of us.
Patrick Mahomes kind of took the high road as far as the booing was concerned, and Andy Reid did as well. Other people noted it a little more intensely. Really, there was a wide variety of opinions as to the level of the booing. There certainly are videos out there where you could significantly hear it on the television broadcast. There clearly was booing. There were people at the stadium who said they didn't hear much of it. Probably some of it comes down to our political leanings or leanings as far as opinions are concerned. A very good column written a couple days ago by Sam Mellinger talks about that just everything seems to come down to divisiveness these days, even the level or the reason behind the booing. Some people tried to explain it away, that it was because the Texans were coming on the field or they were late getting to the unity message with the players entwining arms at the center of the field. But the reality is that definitely there were some people who booed because they didn't want to see political statements being made out there. But these are social justice statements. I don't even know if you can consider that political. I guess so. But if you're just trying to, in the case of the one thing, just preach unity, there's nothing political about that. Just wanting unity and the players linking their arms was certainly really, I think, effective and clever way to try and make a statement, but some people aren't going to like any kind of statements if they're made in the context of a football game. And the other issue on the night was the fact that the Chiefs, who have said they're going to be more progressive about issues regarding Native American culture, really kind of promoted the chop, which now some people do with a closed fist, like they're banging a drum. I didn't see that many people doing that. Most of the photographs I saw were with the standard open palm chop, as it were, which the Chiefs call the arrowhead chop. Most people call the tomahawk chop. And they seem to, in many ways, trying to walk both sides of the fence here, to say that they're going to not emphasize that. They're not going to ban it like they did with head tresses and face paint and things like that, but they're not going to encourage it either. Well, there was plenty of playing of the music that encourages the chop. To me, that is a bad thing for the Chiefs to do, but it has become ingrained in what some people think of the game day experience. I've said it before, I'll say it again. A people's heritage is not a plaything, and that's what you're making that, a plaything for you, when it's something that is significant and part of the heritage of an entire people. And that's a shame. The Chiefs probably should do a little bit better job in that regard, I believe. But on the whole, as I said, in an entire context, things to talk about, issues to talk about, but in the football context, a pristine night of championship football by the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, let's turn to college football, and it certainly was a bad Saturday. It started early at 11 o'clock. It ended late after midnight, and there was really nothing good to report from Kansas State and Kansas. Both teams lost. Kansas State's game was close, 35-31. but it wasn't really as close as the score would indicate. That's a little unfair because Kansas State was ahead and Arkansas State had to score late to win, but the second half was completely dominated by A-State as 5 consecutive drives. In fact, this game wouldn't even have been close if Arkansas State hadn't fumbled in the red zone and missed a short field goal as well, as in the second half on 5 consecutive drives. They drove into the red zone, scoring 3 times, and as I said, messing up a couple of those. K-State showed a little bit of pluck to get themselves back into a tie and then take the lead in the game. And, in fact, they looked good early on when they turned some turnovers by Arkansas State into a 21-7 lead. But once that happened, the rest of the game was dominated by A-State. K-State actually performed almost the impossible. They were +2 in the turnovers and blocked a punt and still managed to lose the game. Skylar Thompson had some decent numbers, but he missed several deep throws, which would have made a big difference in the game. They continually were getting wide receivers open down the middle, even though they were missing quite a few wide receivers. K-State missed a lot of players in this with COVID testing. That's not official, but if the players aren't out there and they're not out there for some reason, and of course some of them could have had regular old injuries. This game was played, in fact, before a limited number of fans, about 11,000 plus. I'll get into that in a minute, but K-State does fall. They've got Oklahoma next week as they lose to Arkansas State, and hats off to Arkansas State. They played 2 quarterbacks. Both of them played well. They were hard-hitting. They committed a couple of unbelievable blunders that kept K-State in the game, including a roughing the passer penalty that basically kept K-State completely alive and almost handed them the game, as a matter of fact. But K-State wouldn't take the gift. They lose at 35-31, and it looks like it'll be a rough start for them. Who knows? Maybe they'll bounce back with a surprise against Oklahoma. They did beat the Sooners last year, but on the afternoon, the morning and afternoon, it was a bad one, 35-31, and at least in viewing on television, the social distancing wasn't particularly good at Bill Snyder Family Stadium either, especially among the students who were shoulder to shoulder. Yes, they did have a row in between them, but it seemed like they packed about the 11,000 fans into about a quarter of the stadium, and the adults looked like they behaved a little bit better, but the students really didn't, thank goodness. At least they were wearing masks, it seemed, for the most part, because they were cheek by jowl while they were cheering on the Cats and watching a performance that would go down the drain. Well, there were no worries about social distancing in Lawrence because there were no fans at the game, and that probably was a blessing as Kansas got throttled by Coastal Carolina for the second consecutive year. Coastal Carolina, in 7 tries prior to the last 2 years, had never won a game against a Power 5 conference team, and now they've won the last 2, both against Kansas. So they scheduled Kansas twice, they beat them twice. Early turnovers led to Coastal Carolina being ahead 28-0, and the game was almost pretty much over at that point. In fact, it ended up being over. Kansas showed a little bit of fight and spunk. They kicked a field goal just before the half to make it 28-3. They rallied a bit in the second half, but they never got closer than 10 points down, and Coastal Carolina was actually playing it cozy. They were actually running the play clock just about right away when the second half started. So they were playing it cozy. They had a great performance from a freshman quarterback in the game as Grayson McCall accounted for all 5 touchdowns. A little bit of good work from Miles Kendrick as Thomas McVitie went out of the game hurt. He didn't play very well at all, so that almost turned into a little bit of a blessing. Puka Williams also was out of the game with an injury after playing effectively, so Kansas did have some things to overcome, but the one thing they couldn't overcome was just bad play. Coastal Carolina looked like the better team, and now, after this one, of course, things can change. First games are maybe not indicative of what's going to go on. It's hard to see wins on the Kansas schedule as they take a bye week next week and then play against Baylor the following week, and things looking gloomy for Les Miles. It's no fun to play at 9 o'clock in front of no fans, and it's less fun when you get your butt kicked left and right at Memorial Stadium. The final score, 38-23, and it really wasn't even that close. So football on a Saturday wasn't nearly as good as football on a Thursday. We've got a little bit more for you. A little bit of baseball, a little bit of soccer coming up before we wrap things up on Monday Musings-Danny SportsWrap right here on the Reasonably Irreverent podcast. And this particular edition brought to you by NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you had a great year in 2019, a record year. 2020 comes, things are moving smoothly along, and then the coronavirus comes. But your company seemed to be very ready, very proactive, and very ready to serve your customers well.
Yeah, we adopted social distancing very early before the cities even put out the notices. And we started working from home. We are largely cloud-based as a company, so that transition was easy. Our technicians are wearing masks and gloves, and salespeople are not meeting with homeowners. We're doing everything digitally and doing everything we can to do our part to get over this as quickly as possible.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com, put your information in, and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters. Firsthand, I have enjoyed the benefits of the CBD products from Canaway. My back feels better and better these days, as a major part of my routine are the pain-relieving salve and the pure gold oil. And recently I had the pleasure of a treatment session using the Canaway CBD in conjunction with the Microlight 830 cold laser. The non-invasive treatment session worked wonders, and I could barely tell I was even being touched. TML 830 is the first 3B cold laser to get FDA approval, and in addition, the combination treatment with CBD is patent pending. The new smart laser is the only hands-free cold laser in the world and is used by athletic trainers, chiropractors, MDs, physical therapists, and veterinarians everywhere. You can learn more about all the great benefits from the complete line of Canaway CBD products by contacting my friend Sherry McCants at 515-208-6312. That's 515-208-6312 to get outstanding information about Canaway.
Hi, everybody. This is Matt Llewellyn from 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. I just want to thank everybody for supporting local restaurants during this time of uncertainty. 23rd Street Brewery is now open until this pandemic is over. And right now, more than anything, local restaurants need your help and support. Come on out and see us. 23rd Street Brewery is open now from 11:30 till 9 o'clock for dine-in and carry-out. Whatever we can do to help you out, maybe with your catering needs, too. I appreciate all the support, and thank you for continuing to shop local.
I'm here with Tim Emerson, the owner of Emerson & Company. And Tim, give us an idea of the range of services that you provide from Emerson & Company.
At Emerson & Company, we do credit card processing, payroll services. We do bookkeeping, merchant accounts like point-of-sale systems.
What would you say differentiates you from other companies in the field, and what makes you special?
I think what makes us unique is that we're a small local business making regional decisions on companies. We create a profile for the business and then put it out to our different vendors in a very competitive environment and tailor those needs to the specific business, which usually ends up in a great fit or great result for the company.
And, of course, the idea is to save money, right?
Save money, and actually sometimes I'm surprised where actually a solution that may cost a little bit more ultimately does save money, but we're not conditioned to think like that sometimes.
Emerson & Company. Check them out at emerson-co.com or call them at 816-360-9092. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Welcome back, and how about those Kansas City Royals? Just when you stopped paying attention, the Royals have decided to go out and start playing some good baseball. Now, the opponents certainly have conspired to help out a little bit, but the Royals have won 6 consecutive games. They plastered the Pittsburgh Pirates 11-0 yesterday, finishing off a sweep of the lowly Pirates, who have the worst record in baseball. The Royals were vying for that worst record in baseball. They still have the 5th worst record in baseball, but they were vying for that top draft choice until this little run ensued. And, of course, we're getting close to the end of the season, so you could look at it two ways. Maybe you're not so happy that the Royals have won 6 consecutive games. I'm sure in the Royals organization they're very happy. They'll talk about it next season. This has happened too often in the time since the Royals were actually good for a stretch of 3 to 5 years, depending on your viewpoint, where they play really bad baseball, and then in September they play a little bit better, and you feel like maybe there's some optimism there, maybe there's some good signs as they start the next season, and then the next season they fall flat on their face. But why don't we just take the high road right now and just have some fun with the Royals, who have won those 6 consecutive games. The Pirates were just god-awful yesterday. Their starting pitcher, Chad Kuhl, had 6 walks in the game. He threw only 31 of 70 strikes, and the Pirates played defense like little leaguers, but still, the Royals banged out 12 hits. They had a lot of guys with good days. Adalberto Mondesi, who had been red hot, actually had himself a bad day and kind of looked like the bad Mondesi as he was 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. That ended a 6-game hitting streak for him. And in that 6-game hitting streak through Saturday, he had 3 consecutive games where he hit a home run, too. His OPS has jumped 100 points in less than a week. Still not very good. It's 567, which isn't good at all, but it was 440 before this stretch ensued. But big days for Maikel Franco, who certainly has to be tabbed right now as a good offseason signing. Hunter Dozier's having a good year. He had another big day yesterday, and Sal Perez, 3 for 5, and when he's been healthy this year and/or can see, then he has been a very effective offensive player and doesn't really show signs of slowing down even after some injuries and as age advances a little bit. And that makes him, to me, somebody who the Royals probably should think about as a marketable tool. But I don't think they probably do. And another good sign yesterday, to say the least, was Brad Keller. He threw his first career shutout. Shutouts, of course, have to be complete games to be shutouts. And while it's a little bit easier this year, possibly because you can throw a 7-inning one, this was a true 9-inning complete game. And Keller, now healthy and back, has had really good start to this season. And, of course, the season's almost over once it is quickly started, but he's 4-2 with a 2.06 ERA. So if you're a Royals fan looking for positives, you certainly can find them. If you're a Royals fan who wants to look on the glass half full side of it, yesterday, a former Royal, Alec Mills, pitched a no-hitter for the Chicago Cubs. He's somebody who was in the Royals organization, pitched for the Royals a little bit. Then they traded him off for the immortal Donnie DeWeese, who the Royals have since sent back to the Cubs. And Mills has turned into an effective starting pitcher. Hey, you're not going to get all those things right, but a good day for the former Royals farmhand, a walk-on at the University of Tennessee. And yesterday pitches a no-hitter for the Cubs, and that meant that for the first time in history, both of the Chicago teams have someone pitch a no-hitter in the same season. Luis Giolito did it earlier in the season for the White Sox. Both the White Sox and the Cubs will be playoff teams. The Royals will not, but at least for the time being, they are riding a hot streak, and that's a little bit of fun. Sporting Kansas City looked like it was going to be one of those nights that you have in soccer. They were completely dominating Minnesota. Minnesota had several players missing with injuries. So did Sporting, for that matter, but Minnesota's were a little more impactful, and Sporting completely dominating after a start that was pretty good pacey-wise for both teams, but then after about 5 minutes, Sporting completely dominating. They ended up outshooting Minnesota 21-6, shots on goal 7-0. That's the first time since 2016 that an opponent of Sporting Kansas City has not had a shot on frame, and first time in 4 years that Minnesota hasn't had a shot on frame. So Sporting, however, even as the game is progressing, is in a frustrating position. We're getting to the 75th minute. We're getting to the 80th minute. They still haven't scored. And then Johnny Russell, who had a couple of glorious opportunities earlier, took a long pass from Graham Zusi, went in on goal one-on-one, was able to beat the third-string keeper, and that was able to hold up as Minnesota then revved up the engines the last 10 minutes, put on a substitute who made an impact, but Sporting was able to hold it off, win 1-0, return to first place, and now they have a schedule, actually, for the rest of September that was released. So a night that could have been very, very frustrating for Sporting Kansas City ends up with them returning to the top in the Western Conference as they play a home game in front of limited amount of fans, but those fans were not going to go home grumbling because they only got the 1 point. They get the full 3 points. Johnny Russell gets the job done. They still continue to work without Alan Polito, who is out with injury. Sporting has several injuries right now, but the guys who were out there did the job for Peter Vermees, and Sporting back in first place with a dramatic 1-0 victory on Johnny Russell's 80th minute strike off a brilliant assist from Graham Zusi. So Sunday produced some nice things for the sports world in Kansas City after Saturday was an abject disaster, after Thursday was a delightful evening for Kansas City sports. All that in one big ball for you right here on Monday Musings-Danny Sports Wrap, and it's all been presented by NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com. Talk to you again through the week with various things here at DannyKlinkscale.com, and check out the Reasonably Irreverent podcast, all the things that you can find. And, of course, everything is archived at DannyKlinkscale.com. Almost 2 years now that we've been at it, and anything that I've written or spoken can be checked out. You can check out some things that were not evergreen and see if I was right. You can check out some things that have nothing to do with the exact moment in time, and those are fun too. So thanks for coming along at DannyKlinkscale.com.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new. This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like
NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com, specializing in expert healthcare guidance and assistance for you.